Hello, everybody, and welcome to our How To Corner. My name is Will Gray, and in today's episode, we're going to discuss MCL rehab and Jordan Love's return from his injury. How to return to sport from an MCL sprain. If you all have any questions or want to continue to follow the content, please like, share, subscribe, follow, turn on your post notifications and all that, and then just wait. We always are dropping different type of actual content in order to address any questions that our clients may have or things we see that are actually a viable means to discuss. So, in today's episode, we're going to start with three particular topics that we're going to go over. So, this is our layout for today. What's the MCL? What does it do? Jordan Love's injury, mechanism of injury, and return to sport. How/when will he get back? This is more of the fact that he's back now, but I kind of wanted to talk about it post his return because I think it's super important to understand what probably occurred. So the MCL. What's the MCL? It's your medial collateral ligament, important for knee stability, medial stabilizer of the knee. It can be stressed during a valgus or inward stress on your knee. So basically, when somebody pins your leg to the ground, you're going one way, your knee is going towards the inside of your body or towards the medial aspect of your body. Your MCL is super important in knee stability. Outside of your ACL, it's the second most important stabilizer in your knee. And if you don't have one, you're opening yourself up for so many other injuries of that knee, and most obvious, the ACL. So let's talk about Jordan Love's injury, his mechanism of injury he had against the Philadelphia Eagles. If you notice in this picture right here, you see that his foot is basically planted underneath the defender who's basically has tackled him. You have one defender coming from the opposite way. And that arrow that you're seeing is showing you that the stress is about to happen on that part of his knee, right? Inward. So external rotation of tibia, left foot sunk underneath the defender, and then another defensive lineman is hitting him, which leads to ouch. This is how the injury occurred. Like I said, the mechanism of injury is an inward vagal stress on the knee, most likely. And this ligament is super important in stability. Right. So let's move to the third piece of this quickly because we're going to be here for a while. Not long, but just for a while. So return to sport from this injury, right, can vary between 4 to 8 weeks. Now, if you notice, I think Jordan returned about 3 weeks. And if you look closely, he had a pretty big brace on underneath his pants and socks. Now, let me say this very lightly. No one can really return from an MCO injury like that without having some deficit still there. So as a result, the bracing is super important, right? As well as understanding he's probably getting around the clock treatment prior to this particular point. And he had moments where he was practicing in a limited fashion leading up to this. So the few things that you look for in order to return from that, in a timely fashion, besides being injected with all type of pain meds and all this other stuff, is no tenderness over the MCL region, which is the inside part of your knee, 80 to 90% of strength versus contralateral side, meaning that his injured side, which is left knee, it needs to be about 80% in comparison to his actual healthy knee, right? No instability. If he has any instability of that particular area of his leg or his knee, then there's a really high chance he's going to injure his ACL eventually. Doesn't really matter how you brace it. The brace stops valgus stress at the knee, but it still doesn't prevent the knee from being stressed from an ankle. How can I say ankle being sucked, in the ground, or you planning to go one way. It doesn't really help with that rotational stress. Helps with more the left, right. It hinders you from flexion, extending, but you still have some play in that brace. So when will he return? He returned this past Sunday. And if you noticed, you watched him closely, his gear, he had a pretty big brace on that knee, one, but two, he also had a little bit of a hitch in his giddy up. Not when he was standing in the pocket throwing the ball and delivering the ball. Because his left leg is his lead leg, right? It's more of the, here, get the ball, drop back, or catching the shotgun. And he did more shotgun snaps than anything. So when he's driving the ball, the weight is transitioning from his back leg, which is his right leg, towards his left leg. And the way Jordan throws the ball and his arm talent, he can do things to kind of sort of offset that load from really going through his knee, right? So when he returned, there was going to be some apprehension on his side even if it wasn't a mental apprehension, his body's protecting itself. So there's certain things he did early. If you watch him throw the ball, it's a little bit off, a little bit rusty, and it's just from the injury. It's just not being able to really, plant, push, throw that with confidence, and not have that protective deal pop in where you're doing something and you're unconscious of it, right? And with that, you expected him to have some trouble, but as the game went on, he got better. He threw the ball better. But the important thing is that what did he do to get there? There's a lot of quote unquote muscle strengthening that occurs, but there's a lot of modalities like electrical stimulation, a lot of hands-on treatment, trying to get the blood flow to that area to be as optimal as possible. And then understanding there's other little tricks in play. Great for laser treatments, different things that they can do to the knee due to the fact that I've rehabbed many MCLs before. I've had MCLs come back in 4 weeks and play, and some be good for the rest of the season, braced up, obviously. But I've had MCLs, that just didn't respond like that. And it has everything to do with really the type of tear or the grade of the tear. And then also the athlete themselves, it depends on a lot with them. Quarterbacks tend to get away with a lot of things because they are statues for the most part, although Jordan is athletic, right? But they don't have to necessarily run. This past Sunday, he was definitely on the run, but he didn't have to just get out and run like Jordan would normally run. If he was a running back or a wide receiver, it'd be a lot more tricky because a lot of their actual movement is dependent on cuts and being tackled, with the person on your back or coming from the angle, the side, and stuff like that. So there's a lot more going on there. So with his return, you will see that in the quarterbacks a lot more than you will see in other skill positions. That's why when somebody has this injury, you really need to be in the care of someone who has experience with this injury and understanding what the difference is athlete to athlete and then the position that you play. So when you're seeing a NFL athlete come back from an injury and they're faster in the sense of return to sport, they're faster in that aspect, then you need to really ask questions of how so? What was the difference? Who are they? Like different things like that. Like Adrian Peterson returned from that ACL injury. Everybody's like, "Oh, AP did. Everybody can do it." You haven't seen too many to no one return at the speed AP did. All right, just a different type of athlete, man. Like genetics play a role also, right? But I was glad to see Jordan back on the field. Glad to see him healthy, and hopefully, he continued to basically avoid any other injuries going forward, so he can really recover in the future and then be totally healthy, from that point forward. But that's it for today's episode. If you have any questions, like, share, follow, please get in the comments, share your comments, let us know what you think. And then, you can also get us at our website. And I really hope that you enjoyed today's episode and that you learned something. And with that being said, hope you have a blessed one. I'll catch you in the next one.